And you do have quorum, so if you want to start, or if you want to just wait a couple, like a minute or so, to allow for time for Jasmine or Cindy to show up, or both.
Oh, there's Cindy.
There's Cindy.
It took a couple of shots at it, but I don't know why, but I'm in.
Welcome.
Well, I think because we do some preliminary stuff anyway, we can probably start, and I'm sure Jasmine will join us soon. All right, I'll go ahead and read the before the meeting script. Okay. Welcome to the January 25th meeting of the Human Rights and Relations Commission. Due to the surge in local COVID-19 cases, it's being held electronically to ensure the safety of all residents. All of the commission and staff are participating from their homes or offices. For members of the commission, please remember to mute your microphone when you're not speaking. We will have roll call votes for each motion this evening, as well as for adjournment. I will ask City Management Fellow Reese Kareem to call roll after each motion. I will repeat the motion for the record before we vote, and I will also repeat who made the motion and seconded. Before we begin, there are a few things I'd like to cover for those listening or watching online. Public has two ways to watch. They can watch the live stream on YouTube or listen via phone on the WebEx call-in number. There is no community comment tonight. The city is committed to hearing and receiving your input on matters. The public can send in comments to the commission through the commission correspondence web form on our website. The recording of the meeting will also be able to be viewed on the city's website tomorrow. Go to Watch a Meeting link under the I Want To tab on the homepage. Thanks in advance for your patience as we work to conduct this online. Be assured that we do our best to continue the meeting as best we can if there are glitches. Thank you for everyone tuning in tonight for your interest in the Human Rights and Relations Commission and work in our city. Okay, let's do roll call.
Chair Epstein,
Here.
Commissioner Felton,
Here.
Commissioner Ismail,
Here.
Commissioner Bennett,
Here.
Commissioner Siegel,
Here.
Commissioner Edwards,
Here.
Commissioner Guatemala, Commissioner Stringer Moore,
Here.
Student Commissioner Lichberger,
Here.
and Student Commissioner Mirza. That concludes roll call.
Thank you. In your meeting packets, you should have been sent out the agenda, the minutes, and the reports and recommendations. We have a motion to approve the meeting agenda.
So moved by Commissioner Stringer Moore.
Second. Second by Commissioner Bennett. Roll call, please.
Chair Epstein,
Aye.
Commissioner Felton,
Aye.
Commissioner Ismail,
Aye.
Commissioner Bennett,
Aye.
Commissioner Siegel,
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards,
Aye.
Commissioner Guatemala, Commissioner Stringer Moore.
Aye.
That concludes roll call.
Thank you. We'll move right on to the approval of the meeting minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes? Commissioner Stringer Moore, do we have a second? Commissioner Bennett, thank you. All the roll call, please.
Chair Epstein,
Aye.
Commissioner Felton,
Aye.
Commissioner Ismail,
Aye.
Commissioner Bennett,
Aye.
Commissioner Siegel, Commissioner Edwards,
Aye.
Commissioner Guatemala, Commissioner Stringer Moore.
Aye.
That concludes roll call.
Thank you. Okay. We will move on to part 5, which is reports and recommendations. It's a new year, and so although that doesn't change a lot of things. It did offer me an opportunity that I wanted to mention to everybody, that one of the things that we've been doing the last couple years is having speakers, as you all know, attend our meetings. We had Superintendent Stanley, who was with us in December, which was incredible. I mean, the opportunity just to meet her, number one, but the time she took to speak with us and how she made it relevant to what our commission is doing, I thought was excellent. And over the year, we had some other excellent speakers, and then we also have the police commissioner, the police chief, who comes and talks to us. So other than really the 4 set times where the police chief comes in, and that'll be quarterly, and probably the one meeting in December again, where we would maybe have a speaker before we would head over to City Hall, it does still afford us an opportunity for probably at least 6 of our meetings to have guest speakers. And what we've really had as the only well, I shouldn't say the only requirement. The main requirement is that they are speaking on something that is on topic and relevant to the Human Rights and Relations Commission. And if it can be even more so to our work plan, that's wonderful. So if you have ideas for speakers, you can give them to us now. You can email Heidi or I. This is not something we need to know tomorrow. We can also get you the dates. We do not have the police chief finalized yet. Is that accurate, Heidi?
Well, I do have the dates that I will be sending the meeting invites. I did talk to him this week.
Oh, good.
So the next that he would be available will be for February's meeting, which is on February 22nd,
Okay.
April 26th, July 26th, and then it would be October 25th.
Right. Great.
And then
Thank
we
you.
would have to, and then the fourth quarter for 2022 would be then in quarter 1 of 2023. So we haven't kind of planned out that far yet.
Right. So as far as I can tell, then, the first opportunity, so we have plenty of time for anyone to talk to somebody, would be in March, at our March meeting. And then in May, June, August, September. We probably won't go out as far as November or December yet, because sometimes those meetings do get moved around with the holidays, although I think we've already done the moving of those. But so again, it's an opportunity. If you think of someone, if you are in a group where there's somebody from that group who can come speak to us, it's really helped out to broaden the commission. And so please keep it in mind as we go forward. Commissioner Bennett.
Yes, thank you. I have at least a couple of recommendations. One is that we hear from Superintendent Stanley again, perhaps at around the year interval. But I think that the school district is a really important part of the community, and I think it would be helpful to keep up, for this commission to keep up with what is happening at the school district. So that is one recommendation. My second is that the census results are just rolling out really slowly. I'm not sure that rolling is even the right word. The data for redistricting, for reapportionment and redistricting, of course, is available, and that has released some block data. But there's a lot more about our community that we will learn when the census tract information becomes available. And I think, again, it would be really important for the commission to gain what better understanding we can from the census of what the community looks like now, compared to the numbers before. I know Heidi did a great presentation on that in a town hall talk within the last year, looking at also the survey, the quality of life survey, and doing some compare and contrast. But again, that data, that local data, has not been released yet and will be sometime in the coming year.
So that's great. So is there someone in particular that anyone knows who works with the census, or is it more that you think that would come from Edina or even possibly Heidi?
Well, the state demographer is actually going to speak to the League of Women Voters on the morning of Thursday, February 10. It's going to be virtual. Anyone who's not a member is welcome. But again, the data that's available at this point is just the reapportionment and redistricting data. So it's available at what they call the block level, which does give us some population numbers. But there are actually census tracts, and Mark, you're going to know this better than I, how many census tracts are in Edina. But the number, at least 8, comes to mind. So our community alone has 8 different parts to it, or more, that were measured in the census. And that takes us down to, well, again, the tract level, but really more the neighborhood level of understanding. Again, and it can be compared to the 2010 numbers. Emily Boddicker, I think, with the planning department, was the city's person in charge of the local census effort. And if she's still handling that for the city, she might be the best person for us to hear from.
Great. Those are great suggestions. Commissioner Felton.
Yes, I can support that. But I also had the recommendation that maybe we have someone from all the diverse communities. For example, someone from the gay community, someone from the Hispanic community, someone from the Black community, someone from the Asian community, to on their individual meeting days to come speak to us. And I think maybe that will develop a relationship and a comfort level where members of that group or those groups will be willing to come and express any bias offenses that they are incurring or whatever. But it could be an opportunity for us to build relationships and trust with those groups.
No question. Yeah, so anyone who in the next couple of weeks thinks of names that they can, email Heidi and that would be great. Commissioner Stringer Moore?
Hi, everyone. I have a few. So I'm going to, Siley, she received the Tom Oy Award and she works with the Southeast Asian community. I think she would be great. I know the Edina Education Fund is going to be doing a lot with mental health. They received a big percentage of our American Rescue Plan funds. So I'd love to learn more about that. I know with the expanded budget in the state of Minnesota, that mental health amongst school-age students, particularly middle school and high schoolers, is extremely important. So I don't know if that could be like a combo with someone else in mental health, or maybe that's even sharing value, sharing community. The Edina Women's League of Voters, I think it'd be great because they've been doing some really interesting programming, and they have a new campaign related all around equity. Another person, Commissioner Felton mentioned members of various diverse communities. There's a young man in the cities that I'm familiar with, Zaylor, and he wrote a book, Our Gay 50 States. I think he would be very impactful to talk about the rights and fights amongst the LGBTQ plus community in the state of Minnesota. And then in addition to what Commissioner Fulton said about diverse groups, I think it'd really be impactful just to have a diverse group of students from the high school come and speak to us and talk to us about their lived experience over the last 2 years. But I don't know any students, so that's a hard one.
Well, we have a couple of them right here that can find some. So no, that's a great suggestion.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Well, like I said, we have 2 months till we even.
Chair, Epstein, just quick.
Absolutely.
We'll be very interested in hearing from the chief of police again. And in specific, my understanding is they were adding to their social work / mental health resources. And I don't know if it would be appropriate to hear from that person in addition, or to ask the chief to speak to it. But I would very much like to understand the evolution in policing and specifically adding those mental health resources.
I did talk to Police Chief Milburn about that too. And so as of last year, there was a person that was fulfilling a halftime role in Edina, as well as Ridgefield for focus on mental health. And so this year, there's actually a person, I believe, Police Chief Milburn said they started in January, so probably about 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. And it's a full-time person that is specifically for Edina. And he said that they, more than likely, they would probably be willing to come and speak as well.
Great, thank you, Heidi.
Great. Well, it sounds like we have a great start there and a number of excellent suggestions. Heidi and I will follow up with some of those. And since there's no speaker in February, we can update you and see if we've been able to fill in any of those spots. But again, if you have specific names, and I did hear at least 4 or 5 specific names, which I wrote down here, or you want to contact them, directly, let us know that you want to do that and for which month you're trying to nail them down for. And the only thing we wouldn't want to do there is duplicate the months. So, we'll let you know as soon as we have anybody secured for March, May, June, August, etc. So good, thank you. We're gonna keep moving on reports to 5B, which is the Edina Community Foundation's Connecting with Kids Leadership Award. Is this Commissioner Stringer Moore, or was that City Fellow?
No, it's actually Commissioner Siegel.
Sorry.
Yeah, and I'd say thank you, Chair Epstein. I was following up on the discussion we had, and not to make our student commissioners uncomfortable again, but when we talked about nominating them for the Tom Oy Award, we said in lieu of that, we should consider go ahead and submitting nominations to the Edina Community Foundation for their Connecting with Kids Award. And there's in specific a Student Leadership Award. The nomination is due at the end of this week. So I had understood we were going to go ahead and do that and that we had already decided that, but I'm not clear about that. And in any event, I would propose that we go ahead and do that. And I believe Commissioner Stringer Moore and Commissioner Felton in the submission for the Tom Oy Award already has all of the information, that could be placed in this form. But it is due at the end of this week. So
Do we need a motion then before we would submit that, or is that just more of a discussion?
Since this is on behalf of the HRC, you would want to have a motion to have a submission on behalf of Student Commissioner Lichtenberger as well as Student Commissioner Mirza.
Commissioner Bennett.
I will move that in particular because I think when we think of leadership, we think of people pulling others in, and that's exactly what our 2 student commissioners have done in all that they have worked on. And again, I agree that the written recommendations that were prepared by Vice Chair Stringer Moore and Commissioner Felton probably have all the information that's needed. And part of what they highlight is the work that was done in events by the 2.
Excellent. Any other comments? Commissioner Stringer Moore?
No, I'm in full favor of this motion, and I was not in attendance at the last meeting, and I know conflicts of interest were mentioned, and I do serve as a member of the board of trustees for the Edina Community Foundation. So just to be clear, I probably should abstain from this discussion or vote.
I think that makes sense. Okay. Well, I think it's an excellent idea, and I think that we should make a motion, and then we just need to make sure that someone's able to follow through with the actual, we said it's an application that would be due by the end of this week. So do we have a motion to move the student commissioners to apply for the Edina, well, we would apply on behalf of the HRRC for our student commissioners for the Community Foundation's Connecting with Kids Leadership Award? Commissioner Bennett, so moved. Or
Yep.
The motion. Do we have a second?
Yes.
Commissioner Edwards. So we should have a roll call vote, please.
Chair Epstein,
Aye.
Commissioner Felton,
Aye.
Commissioner Ismail,
Aye.
Commissioner Bennett,
Aye.
Commissioner Siegel,
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards, Commissioner Gualama,
Was I on mute? Sorry. Aye.
Commissioner Stringer Moore.
Abstaining.
That concludes roll call.
Great. So the motion passes. And then is someone able to take the information, either Commissioner Felton or Stringer Moore, oh, I guess, I don't know if Commissioner Stringer Moore can do that if she's on the board. But Commissioner Felton, you had the information, right, for the,
I sent it to Heidi.
okay.
I think everyone on the committee received a copy. Maybe not, but no,
Commissioner Siegel was prepared to submit it. Is that correct?
Actually, no. I suggested that we execute on what the HRRC discussed last time, and I had asked Commissioner Felton or you to go ahead and do it because you had produced the nomination the last time. And I was trying to be respectful and defer to the good work you all had done in creating the form, and it would seem appropriate that, you know, it be completed. It's not that big of a deal one way or the other. But I believe Commissioner Felton did the heavy lifting to put it together, and it seemed appropriate that he, you know, be the one to submit it on behalf of the HRRC.
I'll be happy to send it over to Commissioner Siegel, all the work that I did, if you would like to prepare it.
Sure, I'm happy to do that.
Okay, great.
But I do need it immediately. I'm going out of town tomorrow. I've been asking for it for a couple of weeks. So I have tonight and that's it.
I'll commit to having it to you within the hour.
That sounds good.
So you're talking about it's a matter of getting it onto the foundation's application website. Is that what we're doing? Okay. Great. And do we know about when they make their selection?
Chair, see, I'm just looking at the form on the computer. The event, maybe Commissioner Stringer Moore could clarify. Right now, at least on the website, it still says March 11th, 2022.
Okay.
So it might be being delayed due to COVID. So I'm not certain if what's on the website is accurate.
I know they were working on it, but I think they're thinking that we'll be beyond our peak, so it would be March 11th.
Possibly in person.
Okay.
Okay. And where do they meet?
I believe they have it at the country club.
Yeah, this is Commissioner Siegel. It's a lovely event held, you know, annually at the country club, really recognizing leaders from our community who have done great things with kids. It is one of those feel-good, highly inspirational events. So if anyone hasn't been there before, I absolutely recommend it. You leave there feeling great, you know, about people being engaged in the community.
Yeah, I've never been there, so that would be wonderful to attend. Well, best of luck to our student commissioners. They deserve it, that's for sure. And more. And more. We'll move on then to advisory communication to City Council. I believe that is Commissioner Stringer Moore.
Yes, hi everyone. In preparing for some work that I was doing with the foundation, the Edina Community Foundation, I learned that the city of Bloomington, you know, our neighbor to the west, southwest, recently declared racism and poverty as a public health crisis. You know, the city of St. Paul has done that. There have been several other cities in the state of Minnesota, as well as in the country, that have made that declaration. I know that we have an opportunity, not only working with our Public Health Commission, but when we think about the Race and Equity Task Force and that action plan, there were a few items that fell under health disparities, and people have really been speaking amongst the health disparities that often stem due to the systems of racism and then the onset of poverty or the lack of access. And so I would like us to work with the Health Commission to send city council, and advisory to potential make that same declaration. And I can tighten this up and send links so that you guys can read more about the other cities that have participated and some of the declarations that have been made, and then also the video on the city of Bloomington that I found.
So with an advisory communication, it's something that we just put together and submit to council. We don't need to vote on that, right, Heidi, until we have it?
Yeah, so for tonight, there's two actually options that you could pursue. I did talk to the staff liaison from the Community Health Commission. And so the first option is that you as a commission could go ahead and vote to submit a advisory communication. I would also recommend that you create a proclamation similar to what Bloomington has done as well as other cities have done within that proclamation. And then what would also have to happen is that the Community Health Commission would also have to vote and approve to also do a community advisory communication. And then I have also heard from the staff liaison from the community health is that there's potential that there are going to be commissioners who would be interested in crafting that proclamation. And so whoever is part of that from the Community Health Commission as well as the HRC, you would all create that work. And then once that work is completed, you would then go ahead and submit that or present that to your commissions for approval. And then once that has been approved, as far as the wording, then that would then be submitted to City Council as an advisory communication. So that's one process. And that process does not involve any changes to your current work plan. It is, again, just an advisory communication to City Council. And so with that advisory communication, there is not necessarily a course of action you are requesting from City Council. That could be certainly something that they review. If they have any questions or they want to escalate that any further, they can still go ahead and make changes or, certainly go ahead and have that directed as part of a work plan. But again, it is just an advisory communication since it is not part of your work plan. So that's option one. You do have a second option, which is a little bit more, I wouldn't necessarily say more intensive, but there would be an impact to your work plan. So as I'm looking at the work plan for HRC as well as the Community Health Commission, this is not, again, part of your work plan, but you can certainly go ahead and request it to be part of your work plan. And that could be more in depth with the research as far as Vice Chair Stringer Moore has indicated is that there is different proclamations, videos, as far as other research that goes into creating a proclamation. And so that request can be submitted to City Council, and they can certainly go ahead and make adjustments to your work plan. And at the end of that adjustment, they would ask for a recommendation. So whether it is you recommend as the joint commissions recommend that City Council approve the proclamation, and that again, that would be a majority vote as well. So those are kind of the two different options that you have. One is a little bit more time intensive because that would be added to your work plan. However, the advisory communication would be something that you would jointly work together that is not part of your work plan, and you would just submit to council for their review or if they have any further questions on it.
Ask a question?
Yes, Commissioner Siegel?
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to thank you for the background, Heidi, and I'd like to understand better the import of purely an advisory communication without moving forward to ask for a proclamation. So how does doing the advisory have an impact? Is it purely just educational, raising consciousness? What's the point?
From the standpoint of an advisory communication, it is a direct way for commissions as a whole to communicate with City Council. So it in the sense what you said, Commissioner Siegel, it could be certainly educational. Some of the things that may be written in the proclamation or even just advisory communication, maybe having one of the council members really want to have that work be an actual proclamation, right? So that could be moved towards actually having a proclamation in that. So it doesn't necessarily, an advisor communication doesn't necessarily, isn't the catalyst to necessarily have city council say, yes, we're going to adopt this immediately. It's them going ahead and reading your communication and then them deciding if they want to go ahead and move to action. Whether it is just reading, getting more information about it, or directing the commissions to go ahead and go further with that work.
Thank you. That was helpful.
Mr. Stringermore, and I was going to say anyway, since you're kind of the one who started this discussion, do you have a leaning one way or the other towards which way you think we should pursue?
Well, I wanted to ask Staff Liaison Lee, when talking to the Community Health Staff Liaison, did they have any feedback on which way they thought their commission might lean?
It was a similar conversation that we're having right now. I think that staff liaison did provide an example with the tobacco 21 that the Community Health Commission went ahead and did research and went ahead and presented that to council, and council did approve it based on their research. So that is one example where the commissions in a joint effort or individually did that research, adding it to their work plan, so that there was that the background, the research, and council was able to make that approve that recommendation. Whereas if you want something quicker, as far as that more of a direct line for communication, that advisory communication is what I would probably suggest. But again, if you're wanting to have city council take action, then it would be that recommendation of a proclamation that's added to your work plan.
Commissioner Bennett?
Can I just ask one more follow-up question for that?
Of course.
For the environmental commission, I thought I had the article right here, and their new green status, that was added to their work plan, right? That just wasn't an advisory. You know what I'm referencing?
The climate action plan?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that had been part of the sustainability work plan.
Okay.
So that was already something that was directed by council to go ahead and research.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Bennett?
In my experience, which now becomes, I left the council at the end of 14, what was likely to actually result in action was something that came forward with a specific request and even suggested wording. It might have undergone then some more research and change, but it did ultimately end up, and what I'm thinking of specifically is this was before the law changes that were later accomplished, but the city's changes with domestic partnership, the adoption of a domestic partnership ordinance, or what we could then legally do, that came at the recommendation of the Human Rights and Relations Commission. Also opposition to voter ID that resulted in a very good amount of public information that had previously been lacking. That came at the recommendation of the HRRC, and opposition to the marriage amendment, which also came with a specific recommendation and some research underlying it. So I think that in terms of time spent, the time spent would be more worthwhile if there were actually a specific recommendation that, even though it could be modified, did put language in front of the council.
So does that mean, Commissioner Bennett, you're saying to add it to the work plan, that the second option Heidi was?
Not necessarily. I think that the two bodies could work together, and looking at the language that's been adopted by other communities. But one thing that I found important during my time was that people wanted to know what the local connection was. So that if there were national statistics or even state statistics, those were not ultimately convincing to people. What was convincing to people was what did we have for local data. For instance, for voter ID, what would it impact in terms of the costs of our elections? How many voters would it influence? That kind of specific information, which I think that both community health and this body could come up with, and then also use what other communities have as a template or model for what has been done. But I don't think it has to be added to the work plan. The work plan is used differently than it was, and it was actually, the work plans were just beginning to be in use when I was on the council, but I don't think it has to go through that adoption to the work plan in order to come up with that language between the two commissions.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's right.
Yeah, it's my understanding that staff liaison Lee said that it would be an advisory and a proclamation with option 1, and then option 2 would be the added to the work plan with more, I guess, concrete recommendations and research.
Yeah, I think because of option 2, which is that addition to that work plan, you would have, that would be something that would be like dedicated, where you would have more time to do that research. I think with the advisory communication, which is option 1, where a lot of cities have done that proclamation that indicating that racism is a public health emergency or crisis. A lot of those were done in proclamation to be able to kind of pull in some of those local pieces, as what Commissioner Bennett was talking about, that you can certainly go ahead and put in a proclamation and an advisory communication. One of the reasons why I indicated or recommended a proclamation is that with that proclamation, that is what council would be using in order to be able to approve or to recommend or approve your recommendation. And then they would be able to see your words of how creating a proclamation would support, decreasing the disparities, specifically in Edina.
Okay.
Listening to this and asking and answering Chair Epstein's question, I think my recommendation would be for option 1, because it seems like we do have the flexibility to work with the Community Health Commission to do the research, to write a substantial advisory and proclamation speaking to the direct disparities locally in our community. And I could be wrong in that interpretation, but that was my interpretation of what I just heard.
Oh, that's mine as well. Not that that means it's right, but. Any other comments? So then again, I guess the only thing I wasn't clear on was if that would require us then to make a motion at this meeting, or do we have enough now to start pursuing this and then make a motion later down the road with what we come up with?
You would want to first have a motion that you would start creating the advisory communication to City Council. So that's kind of just that approval for whoever is in this commission that would like to take part in that. And then that second part, the second level, is then the Community Health Commission would also have to have an approval for them to undertake creating an advisory communication with the HRC. So in essence, after this process, the HRC would go through 2 approval process. It would be right now, if you want to go ahead and motion to create an advisory communication based on the fact that racism is a public health crisis. And then you would also have to wait on the Community Health Commission. And then another vote would be then for the HRC once that advisory communication has been completed.
Okay. I'm sorry, everybody, for not being more clear on all this, but I've always found the advisory communications versus the proclamations versus the work plan to be a little confusing. So I'm actually glad that we're all going through this together. So what I'm hearing then is we are probably at a point now where we can make a motion to begin the process of creating an advisory communication to City Council for the, declaring racism a public health crisis.
Well,
That's-
just one point of information, it's actually racism and poverty. And I think when we look at our community with seniors, and I don't know where they fall because I don't have the exact data, so this will be really interesting to dig into that data. But it would be racism and poverty, the
No
public
question.
health crisis,
Good.
combining the two. But before we move forward with the nomination for the vote, just like, can we do like a, show of hands if anybody is interested in working on this and what the process would then
Right, because we only have so much bandwidth.
Right. Would you then connect us to the staff liaison for community health, and they would connect us with, the people on that commission interested, just to understand what that process would look like? And I mean, again, and the nice thing too about the advisory is like we have all year to do it. It's no urgency, but I mean, so we do have some flexibility versus in managing our other work plan items.
Yep. So just to answer Vice Chair Stringer Moore's question, I would be able to connect, I would get the community health commissioners contact information and just kind of merge you all into one email along with the staff liaison from community health. So then you would have their information as well.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Bennett?
Well, again, when the census information is released, we're going to have more information about our community that can serve as partial foundation for this. We also have the applications that were filed for the human services funding, and that quantifies some of the need in the community. One of the things that we learned from the 2010 census was that poverty in Edina was actually concentrated among older women. We may well find something different this time, but it'll be a source of that kind of information in addition to the service, what is being provided in services, checking with Bloomington Health, with VEEP, the food shelf. There are some really specific places that we'll be able to check.
But Commissioner Stringer Moore, I think your concern was, do we have the bandwidth to add an advisory communication to our group? Is that?
Well, I know we're not, my recommendation is option one, where it would not go on.
Right.
Plan.
But you
You're
still
right.
wanted
So
to know people.
Right, the personal interest, because I think this would actually go into people's personal time.
Right.
Versus, HRRC work plan, but to work on this on behalf of the HRRC. So I guess not bandwidth, interest was my question. Interest and commitment.
Yeah. Because I suppose if it's not there right now, then maybe this could be something like a parking lot item, that we would make a work plan item next year. But I think there is some sense of urgency with getting this done and to council, right? With the other cities already doing it. Do you feel that's
right? I do.
Yeah, and I think that's true. So is there an interest? Does anyone have an interest in working with Commissioner Stringer Moore? Commissioner Bennett, wonderful. Commissioner Guadarrama. Okay, so it sounds like it's there for you, Commissioner Stringer Moore.
Okay, great. So should I make this motion, or is that you, Chair?
You can make it.
I move that the Human Rights and Relations Commission agree to work with the Community Health Commission in drafting a advisory for City Council and providing language for a proclamation on declaring racism and poverty as a public health crisis in the city of Edina.
Okay. We have a second.
Second.
Commissioner Felton. And we'll do roll call.
Chair Epstein,
Aye.
Commissioner Felton, Commissioner Ismail,
Aye.
Commissioner Bennett,
Aye.
Commissioner Siegel,
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards,
Aye.
Commissioner Guadarrama, Commissioner Stringer Moore.
Aye.
That concludes roll call.
Great. All right, good. Thank you all for your patience as we have those discussions about kind of the order of things and how we're supposed to do it. It's better that we get it right than just try to start jumping through things. And Heidi, thank you for your explanations on the different options that we had. Those were very helpful.
Yeah, Heidi, thank you so much for researching it for us. I really appreciate that, and reaching out to the community health liaison and Commissioner Bennett. Thank you so much for providing your previous expertise as a former council member. And I want to say thank you to Commissioner Guadarrama and Commissioner Bennett for agreeing to help me with this. So
Excellent. Very important. We don't want Bloomington to have anything on us, that's for sure. So we will move on to the 2022 annual work plan. As you all know, we are starting a brand new work plan. This is January of 2022. I do want you to continue to think about which initiative you want to be a part of, while also keeping in mind that we will have 2 new members in March. Our commission is filling 2 membership roles. So, and also if you want to be a lead on any of these items going forward. I believe that for initiative 1, Commissioner Bennett has agreed to lead that for 2022. Of course, that's going to be the coordinate sharing values, sharing communities event, determine topic at least 4 months in advance of the scheduled event, which on here it says October 2022. So it's very early in the game, but Commissioner Bennett, is there anything to report there?
No, thank you. I've actually been thinking more of naming, which I'm not sharing. Policy.
Okay, too.
But I'm ramping up.
Well, you got.
If anyone has ideas, would appreciate. I think Heidi, am I correct in if someone is communicating personally with the commissioner rather than with the entire commissioner or group of commissioners, they may send an email, or would you like all emails sent through you? Because if anyone has any recommendations, would really appreciate them, and we'll be continuing to look at concerns in the community as well. Last year, I think we were on one path, and something came up. Commissioner Stringer Moore felt very strongly about something, Commissioner Felton as well, and we pivoted, and we're actually able between June and September to put on something that I think served the community and this commission well. So operating not to try to push the calendar to its latest point, but understanding that things change as the year goes on. I don't feel uncomfortable at this point about not having a set topic, but also would appreciate input from others. And Heidi, how would you like people to proceed if they want to provide suggestions in writing?
I think for me, if there's any logistical pieces that I should be part of, whether it's marketing or things with the city, I would like to be included in that. If there are things that, whether it's logistics or pieces for, let's say, City Hall, if the event is going to be taking place there, just for me to be informed, so then I can make those arrangements.
Great, but if someone comes up with, for instance, if someone has an overnight inspiration on a speaker or a topic, is it all right if they just send an email directly to me?
Yep.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I think it's more if there's like 5 people on the emails when we get into trouble. But yeah, if anyone has it would be basically a topic and or a speaker. Is that accurate, Commissioner Bennett? Yeah. For the event that we will hold this year, please pass those along, or if you have them at our next meeting in February, please share them at that time. But go ahead and email Commissioner Bennett directly. Commissioner Stringer Moore?
I'll send you an email, Commissioner Bennett, but I'd like to put mental health on the table.
Great, thank you. We had such a good experience, I think, working on things last year, that it was really encouraging. Really appreciate everyone, working with everyone who worked on it, and I'm looking forward to a good experience again this year, and something worthwhile.
Okay, for initiative 2, which is the Days of Remembrance event, Commissioner Stringer Moore and myself, who worked on it last year, and there's both of the student commissioners who did an excellent job helping us out as well with that. We need to get a meeting scheduled, probably ASAP, with the Green Sheet member, who would also be joining us. And if another commissioner would want to, I think we could still have one more, because that would not be probably a good one for our new commissioners, just judging on time.
I have a couple comments too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so we definitely have room if anyone else would like to join us. Secondly, echoing Commissioner Bennett's comments, if you have any direction on where we should go with this, or recommendations on potential speakers, we would love to hear that. Looking at the calendar, I know one of the things that was really important this year was to make sure that Days of Remembrance tied in with the National Days of Remembrance, which is Thursday, April 28th. And so just for planning purposes, I know we typically have had this event on a Sunday afternoon in person, and I'm hoping we can be in person or at least hybrid like we were last year. So potential dates would be Sunday, April 24th or Sunday, May 1st. And I believe, you know, working backwards from the event template that staff liaison Lee put together for us, we need like anywhere to successfully execute and make sure that the city is involved and has the opportunity to do all the things that they need to do, 8 to 10 weeks. Am I correct?
6 weeks is the latest.
Yeah, 6 weeks at the latest, but 8 to 10. And so I don't know, staff liaison Lee, if you could check on those dates for us, just as a tentative.
I'm
Would you
sorry,
be
would
willing
you
to
repeat
give-
the dates?
So the National Days of Remembrance is Thursday, April 28th. And looking at the calendar, I thought we could either do like the Sunday before, which would be Sunday, April 24th, or the Sunday after, which would be Sunday, May 1st. And
Gotcha.
only recommending a Sunday because I know from historical context, when we used to have the event, it was on a Sunday afternoon, early afternoon.
And very,
Yeah, 'cause
and
you
that's
don't wanna-
very well attended. Sorry, Commissioner Edwards. What was it?
Nope, just saying you don't want to step on Easter because that's the week prior.
So Easter is April 17th.
17, right.
Passover is April 15th.
Perfect.
Gotcha.
Perfect.
I did look at those dates. So.
Good.
Vice Chair Stringer Moore, would you, for those dates, would you want to have the council chambers as well as the atrium reserved? Do you have a tentative time frame that you're looking at for those 2 dates?
I think we typically did like 3 to 5. Is that correct, Chair
Yeah.
Epstein or Commissioner Edwards?
That sounds right to me, and that seemed to be when we really had some pretty sizable attendance. Now, everything's changed, of course. You know, this was pre-COVID, but I think that sounds right. I remember it being a late afternoon.
Okay, I will go ahead and
4 to
reserve
6.
for those 2
3 to 5,
days.
4 to
Commissioner
6.
Edwards, does that sound right to you? I know you are the queen. You have a lot of memory
That's
power on it.
so scary that I'm the queen. But am I muted? No, I'm
No.
on mute. Nope. Um,
Don't say anything you don't.
it was typically afternoon, and we did like snacks and stuff like that. So I think 24th sounds really good.
Yeah, hopefully it's available the 24th.
So in 3 to 5. Okay, perfect.
It was even earlier than that, I think.
Oh, was it? Oh, like 2 to 4?
Well, we'll look it up.
Yeah, I don't have my last year calendar down here, but I thought it was earlier than that.
We can look at some of the posters maybe or something.
I'll just block out a time, so I'll probably block it out from like noon until like 6.
Okay.
And then once you get more of a time frame finalized, then we can just tighten those time frames up.
Thank you.
Do you want to tie into any of the school stuff like we did a couple of years ago where they did art? That was kind of fun.
Yeah, I think we need to pull the I like that, and that really helped us too when we had the French immersion program.
Right.
Commissioner Edwards, I know you are going to be leaving us in March, but would you like to join us until?
I'll do what I can, but I mean, this is my second to last meeting, so. But I think
Don't say that.
I don't remember her name, but there was a connection to the art program at the French immersion school that did some really great collaborative stuff with us, and it brought in a lot of parents and a lot of, obviously a lot of student artists. That was really kind of fun.
I'll go back on my notes on that. I know who you're talking about, Commissioner Edwards. I just can't remember her name. So yeah, we'll schedule a meeting, and then hopefully Commissioner Edwards will join us for the first couple meetings if possible as a committee. And,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So and just to follow up on what Commissioner Edwards say, I know we did do the green form process, staff liaison leave, but should Commissioner Edwards join us and want to stay with us, the last 2 months of planning and executing, could she stay on? Do we need to vote, make a motion that she would be able to?
I would be a citizen participant and not a commissioner.
As a citizen participant, but I'm just saying,
Right.
could we trying to be proactive in that process?
I am not going to speak for Commissioner Edwards, but she is certainly invited to stay throughout the duration of the event. So there
Okay,
is no.
Yeah, if she wanted to, right?
Yep,
But,
to help with the event, yes.
and we don't need to vote or motion or any paperwork.
The working committee, I think, decides who, as a citizen, can join, right? I think that's how that works. So.
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you.
We gotta try and find some speakers, though. It's gonna be a bit of a hustle to get somebody to do the main event.
Yeah, we'll have to talk to JCRC, but we'll do that all
Yeah.
offline with the committee.
Yeah. Sadly, we're losing our speakers.
Yeah, for sure. All right, initiative number 3. The only item to that is that I wanted, and thank you, City Fellow Kareem, for sending out the Edina bias event response plan. That's the document that I believe we edited 2 years ago. I don't think it was last year. So I just wanted everybody to have a chance to see it and read it before the police chief will be joining us next month. There was nothing about it other than that, just a chance for you all to have it and read it. I don't know if anyone has any questions based on it. If you don't, you can always follow up with myself and Commissioner Guadarrama, who will be heading up the bias event this year and also dealing with the police chief should we ever have to. So that was the only purpose of that attached to your packets this month. For initiative number 4, the Tom Oy Award, that one we don't do till the end of the year. So still early there, but Commissioner Felton, anything with that?
Nothing from me to report.
Okay, we just need to get you a couple more members, and maybe that would be a great one to get a new member on, in my opinion, who would be able, because that's just selecting somebody, but it's also you get to see the fruit of your labor at the end of the year. So we'll kind of keep that in mind as the new commissioners join us. All right, moving along to initiative number 5. I'm not sure if Commissioner Bennett or Stringer Moore or neither, or Commissioner Siegel was heading up initiative 5, or if we've even decided that. That's for studying and reporting on the city facility naming policy. That's our new initiative. And that is something that we'll be working on throughout the entire year. Is there anyone who had any comments for Commissioner Stringer Moore?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank Commissioner Bennett. She's done a lot of due diligence.
Oh, right. I should have mentioned that. Thank you.
Looking at the historical context
right.
and done historically in the city. And so I would love for her to serve as lead if she's willing to, because she's already done some of the heavy lifting for us. And so one wanted to acknowledge that, and then ask her if she wanted to serve as the point person for that.
I second that motion.
Well, Commissioner Stringer-Moore, you had previously indicated your desire to serve as chair. Would you like to co-chair it, the two of us?
We can co-chair. I'm happy to do that. Yeah.
Great.
I would like that. You've already done so much work on the one instance of applied of an application of, I think, an equitable or a historical correction. So would be happy to bring what I know and work with your experience also.
Yeah. So I think I'll connect with you offline, and then because I did look at your timeline recommendations. So.
And I have some ideas of how to start. And then I think there's also some stuff that may be lost in the city's archives. And I have about this much technical ability.
Miss Flip Phone. I tried to text you. I text her a link. She's like, I have a flip phone.
So what's wrong with the flip phone?
She said her technology ability. So it is, I'm just saying that, yeah, she's not accessing links on the go. She's not accessing the internet while she's away from home. She has to be, or unless she's someplace with her computer or tablet.
Probably healthier that way.
It is really, yeah,
Well,
no tablet.
It's safer.
Nice to get away.
Safer. She's off the grid.
Not tethered. Okay, and then Initiative 6 is another one of our new initiatives, which is the following the completion of the staff development of internal process. We will assist the staff with promotion of city form to report bias or discrimination. Staff liaison Lee, is that something maybe we should wait a little for some direction from staff, or should we kind of take the lead there and then find out which staff would work with us?
Well, I would actually be working with staff. So to give you context, this initiative was actually added on the December 7th City Council meeting. And that was due in part to the conversations that you all had that you wanted to be able to, in response to the Stop the Hate event, where there were folks that had opportunities to share experiences that they've had of bias or discrimination in Edina, and not necessarily having an outlet to be able to kind of provide that feedback, or even just having that acknowledged. And so as the conversation continued, you all wanted to be able to have, whether it's marketing or just letting people know that there is this bias event form that is on the city website, in conjunction with the bias events response plan that you all have as part of your work plan. And so that was added as initiative number 6. You'll notice that there are no names attached to it yet. So one of the things that I'm looking for this meeting, or even in the next couple meetings, if there are any student commissioners or any adult commissioners that are wanting to be part of that, you will be working directly with myself, as well as a couple of folks from staff members. So really looking at a wide variety of staff members from different departments. And the reason being is that with any sort of bias complaints, or any complaints that we get, there has been a trend where community members may call one department and complain against another fellow resident. If they do not get the response that they want, they may try another department, and that may be based on ordinances or things that of that nature. And so what staff are wanting to do is really to start categorizing what are some of the things that we receive complaints about. So I've had a couple sessions with other staff members to really just kind of brainstorm what are those different categorizations. So for example, there are times where people potentially may be calling based to complain on a neighbor about their weeds. That's an example that may be coming in. And it might not necessarily be based on how tall their weeds are or plants. It could be potentially based on a bias or discrimination. And so as staff members, one department may receive that complaint or just that notification, and no other staff members or departments will know about that. And that could be a continual process. So the reason why the initiative number 6 is really saying following completion of staff development, as staff, we really have to get together and say, what are the different categories that we receive complaints? Is it coming from bias and discrimination that may be coming from a city ordinance? And the city has, staff members have already kind of researched it, and it continues to be an ongoing issue. And so we have to do that research. Is it a bias event that occurs in a public space? So for example, is it a community member that is completing the bias discrimination form that is for a public space or, excuse me, a private company? So is it happening at a store? Because then we also have to look at what are some of the things that staff members are able to do. Do we have that? Do we have that authority to make changes within that location? We also, another categorization that comes up is also looking at where is there a potential overlap, and where do we not want to overstep if there is a criminal aspect to it. So how do we, for example, if there is a person that completes the bias discrimination form but has a criminal matter, what are some of the things, what is a certain handoff to police, and what is kind of the extent of staff members? There's many different types of categorizations that we as staff members have to really flesh out, and then bring to the team that is part of the HRC to kind of give those examples. So just making sure that as staff members and as an internal organization, we know what we're doing. And so that's why this initiative is really at the completion of when staff have those different categorizations. And so I also recognize that Commissioner Felton raised his hand when I did speak about just having folks be part of this team. So I will go ahead and have you listed. But that's just kind of the backstory of why this particular initiative was added to your work plan. What is the work that staff are doing? And then also that ask if there are other commissioners that would like to be part of this.
All right. Commissioner Felton, did you have a question?
Sure, I would just like to add to that. I'm not sure if, I don't know if anyone saw, but this week, the FBI actually did a public service announcement on TPT about bias offenses, and it was more educating the public about what it is, and then two, who to contact in case they experienced it. And so I thought about this initiative when I saw that, because I was more interested in the marketing and of this, to let members, or not members, but community members in Edina know that there is a bias offense available to them, and again, maybe defining it. But in terms of categorization, that's above my level of expertise, but I would like to be part of the marketing piece of it.
And just to speak to that, Commissioner Felton, one of the reasons why we wanted to be able to have that categorization, or kind of just that process set in place, is because from that marketing standpoint, if there are community members that may ask the HRC, what is the process, that you will all know what that looks like as well. Because I would hate for you all to just say, yep, we have this form, and then not necessarily know the process. And then in that place where, if the person that is filling out that form maybe getting frustrated because they are not really sure what needs to happen next. So I want to be able to have it where even if you are just wanting to have that marketed or be made aware, that you also have that context too, so that we can also see if there are any gaps in our process as staff members that we need to correct as well.
Absolutely, I concur.
Commissioner Siegel?
Yeah, thanks, Chair Epstein and Staff Liaison Lee. One point of clarification and one question. So the point of clarification is my understanding on reading this and then listening to you is the staff is going to work together really to assess current processes how complaints come in, either formally or informally, understand how things are categorized, understand how communication flows, and either create or enhance and document existing processes. That'll be a staff function. So do I have that part correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and then you will be looking for commissioners to give some feedback to that, or both to learn about it, as you just described, but also the role of the commission on this is to give feedback on it or to be a sounding board. That's question one.
Yes, yes, and it is for this particular initiative. It's also looking at what are ways, as far as, for example, what Commissioner Felton provided with the TPT is what are some aspects that you as a commission are wanting to do to market it or acknowledge it. So that can certainly be creating a video, or is it working with communications to be able to have something that is more of a pamphlet per se, or ways that you as community members would want to hear about this particular form that we have that the city is having as a service or support.
Yeah, okay, thank you. That's really helpful. And then I would add, as you're going through your internal processes, kind of relying on my own historic experience and expertise in these areas, I would expect that you would consult with the city attorney. Because,
Absolutely.
yeah, so, so you are, in fact, as you said, not, what's the word I want? Hindering any related either criminal or civil rights or other process. So,
Absolutely, absolutely.
okay,
Yep,
and
and
the
so
role is clear. That's not our role. That's the city attorney's
Right,
role.
that's absolutely correct. Yeah. Even going back to the bias event response plan, I did contact the city attorney to be able to see what is within that. And then related to initiative number 6, for example, there are potential, there would be a person could potentially complete the bias events form. And if that was directed purely at a employee, that is something that we're not able to provide because that's part of like employee records, right? So knowing what are the legalities, where is that criminal aspect intersect, and what are some of the things that we can provide, but also making sure that we're addressing the things that are happening within the community or when the form is completed.
Understood. Yeah, really helpful background, and I'd be happy to help as well.
Thank you.
Great. Commissioner Sugarmore?
I just have a question for the comments that staff liaison Lee presented. It sounded like with that example that you provided about the weeds, like a microaggression, and I don't know in that campaign if there's going to be any opportunities for community training. I remember, but in the summer of the fall of 2020, late summer of 2020, there were like those listening circles, healing circles. So it seems like that might be an opportunity to tie in some training and discussions about microaggressions with that. I just wanted to put that out there.
And I appreciate that, Vice Chair Stringer-Moore. I know that there, even from the staff side, that there has been a creation or started to create what are some resources for staff members when there is a potential call that it seems like there's hints of bias or discrimination that is not purely connected to like the height of the weeds, right? So something above and beyond that for staff to even start having those conversations with potential community members.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add that this to me was an example where we had come up with our work plan. We had had it adapted by the city council, where they basically removed this. And then in my estimation, Heidi, or staff liaison Lee, went to bat for us and spoke to council and got this, even though it wasn't originally where we had it, she got it put back on. And so I appreciate that, and I know the rest of the commission does. So thank you for listening to our concerns and taking them to council and getting a concrete change. That was great. If there are no further comments on the 2022 work plan, we would move to member comments. I will go around. Does anyone else's little squares move? on them. It's like I expect somebody to be somewhere, and then all of a sudden I look again, and they're over there, and I don't know why that happens. But anyway, Commissioner Stringer Moore.
I saved it and I've had it on my desk the whole time. There was a nice article about the Tom Oy presentation in the January 6th Sun Current. So just want to say congratulations to the committee that worked on that and to everyone for voting. It was interesting. I know it seemed like we weren't going to get any nominations in, and then they all came in last minute. And I can't tell you how many emails I got after the fact asking, like, well, is it going to be extended? Could it, and I will say at least 10, and there are probably more than that. So I know that we, sometimes wondered about the significance in the community, or do they want to participate? And people, I'm a last minute kind of girl too, so I think people wait. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. I hope everybody saw it. I don't know if I have access to the digital version of the Sun Current, but maybe we can send it out to everyone. Commissioner Lee, I could channel my inner mom and cut it out and scan it.
Was it just recently? Or what was the date of that?
Thursday, January 6th.
I'll see if I can pull it up.
I think everybody loves that process. I think it's a great function.
If I can get the PDF of it, I'll send it out to the entire commission.
They didn't tell me to take off my mask in that photo, and that photo's been following me around everywhere.
And I just had one question too, for Commissioner Lee. What was it called? Because I was unable to attend the event on the 18th that you shared with us. Was that event recorded? It was a Zoom event?
It was not recorded.
Okay.
Okay, is that okay? Commissioner Bennett?
I did attend the event and want to thank Staff Liaison Lee for all the work that she did on that. I thought it was really worthwhile and appreciate the opportunity to participate.
Thank you. Moving on, Commissioner Siegel.
Thank you. Couple of things just to share. This upcoming Thursday, the League of Women Voters, the Racial Justice Action Committee, in partnership with the Edina Community Foundation, Edina Reads program, we're hosting a discussion of the book Stamped: Racism, Anti-Racism, and You. It is particularly, I think, exciting, and will be worth folks' time because we're including middle school and high school students. So it's a community event. We have really nicely organized evening. And if anybody's interested, they can look at the League of Women Voter Edina website and register. So again, a partnership with Edina Community Foundation. Also, and Commissioner Stringer Moore, hopefully I'm not getting too ahead of you here. Also just want to acknowledge Commissioner Stringer Moore's invitation to us to participate in the Equity Journey with the Y. And that was an Edina Community Foundation invitation, also extended to the League of Women Voters, and numbers of us are going through that process together, including working on the intercultural developmental inventory and then looking at culture in a different way. So I think, I know Commissioner Stringer Moore is participating, Commissioner Bennett is, and I am. So it might be something that might be interesting to come back to this commission and just to discuss some of the insights we have at the end of it. So I just want to say thank you publicly to Commissioner Stringer Moore and, as a potential future agenda item to talk about what it means to look at culture in that way. So.
Can I just add one thing? I know a couple of years ago, I think when I first joined the commission, it was like Commissioner Meeks and I working informally with the Edina schools, and it was recommended that maybe our commissioner should take the IDI assessment. I've never taken it, and so I don't know. As a parking lot, item, perhaps that's something we look at and then we really see where we are collectively as a commission, because the work with the foundation is looking collectively where we are as a community, but it might be impactful to know where we are as a commission culturally and of our understanding of culture, because that seems with every discussion that culture really outweighs race and gender and things of that.
Great. Commissioner Felton,
None for me, but thank you.
thank you. Going across, Student Commissioner Lichtenberger.
Nothing for me.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Edwards.
Can't think of anything. Kind of sad to be my second to last meeting, but I'm still around, so hopefully
Well,
I can.
come up with something for next meeting. We want the big goodbye speech.
Well, it's kind of spooky to be zooming, but
I know.
that's the way it goes, and so far COVID free, so 2 years and counting.
Yeah.
So
We'll stay that way.
yep, but nothing except go Gophers. The poor women they've not been doing well. I'm worried about Lindsay, but we'll just keep our eye on it. So
It's early. Commissioner Ismail.
Thank you. I don't have anything to say.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Guadarrama. Not sure if her feed is working okay. Can you hear us, Commissioner Guadarrama?
she's bouncing around.
Yeah, mine's spinning.
Are you there?
I have anything to say, but thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Student Commissioner Mirza.
I actually just had a fun thing that I'm on the student side of what Mamie was planning with the league. But I'm actually out of town this weekend, so I'm not able to attend. But yeah, I was helping coordinate with students.
Great. Thank you. I just wanted to mention to everybody that I'm one of the co-chairs of the Board and Commission's selection. I don't know what it's called. But anyway, I'll be part of the interview process for the new applicants for the Board and Commission. There are so many more applicants than there are positions.
Did I see 90?
99.
Oh my God, that's great.
There's 15 positions. Well, I agree that's great. The only thing that I want to make sure, and if anyone has suggestions, you can email me offline. It's not something to talk about now, but I don't want a missed opportunity. I don't want the 74, if I did my math, 84 names of people who have an interest in the city, took the time to fill out, and I'm going to go over this with the mayor and the council, but just if anyone thinks of other places where we can plug these folks in so that if they don't necessarily make these commissions and that they've shown an interest level, a high interest level, to be honest with you, 99. And the applications that I've been reading over are extraordinary. So it's going to be a ridiculous process trying to get down to 15. But most importantly, if you do have ideas of other places where individuals could be involved in the city, just let me know, and shoot me an email or text or call or whatever it is, and we'll go there because it's exciting. We have so many applicants, but I worry that we're going to aggravate a lot of people who say, "Oh, I don't want to bother with the city because they didn't select me or something." So,
Well, please get an LGBTQ plus somebody, because when I fall off, I think that's it.
that wasn't one of the categories that they could list, but
No, it wasn't. But I dragged in a whole bunch of 1980s radical stuff, and I laid this whole spread of paperwork out when I did my interview. So please grab at least one.
All right.
So
Commissioner Bennett, did you have a?
I just have a question because it's my recollection that one of the practices that the city had adopted is that there is a list kept of people um, after the interviews and the selection are done and the selections are made, and that if any openings do occur within the
Oh,
course
yeah.
of the year, it's filled from that list. So that is one way that there are at least usually several more opportunities available. But I appreciate the challenge and thank you for doing it.
Yeah, no, thank you for mentioning that. And do still do that. I did get that clarified. But what I'd like to do is get them like actively involved in something else, whether it would be a green sheet or and I'm going to talk again with the mayor and the council about this, but I just would hate to have that high level of interest with being involved in the city and us not being able to keep these folks interested. But your suggestion is great because they do still do that. Commissioner Stringer Moore?
Just to your earlier point about the green sheet, and I know when I worked with, is it REAP on the event for Yancey Park, that was open for community members too, right? Staff liaison me. So I'm just thinking maybe if they might have some ideas on Initiative 6, that might be an opportunity to loop some of the people that are interviewing for HRRC into a broader community role.
Oh yeah, no, or all kinds of volunteer things. Maybe they can, not just attend events, but help. I don't know. It's something that it's just got to be. But we're meeting tomorrow, and we meet a half hour before the interviews. It's 5 nights of interviews, 3 hours a night. So that will give us a lot of opportunity to think of some ideas.
And even if somebody has some passion around maybe this advisory for the declaration of racism and poverty as a public health crisis, file that in the back of your brain.
I'll do that. And then we have staff comments. Staff liaison Lee.
Yep, I have 3 comments. One comment is I just wanted to congratulate you all in completing your 2021 work plan. So all of the items that you had on there were completed, which is why we're not having a discussion about them tonight, because all of those were completed by your December 7th meeting. So kudos to all of your hard work in the past year. And then even just kind of a quick acknowledgement is that during the meetings in November, when City Council was taking a look at all of the boards and commission work plans, there was plenty of comments from each City Council member of all the hard work that you all did, and just even how you bring community members together. So just wanted to congratulate you and commend you on your hard work for 2021. The other item that I wanted to talk to you about was just a clarification on the next meeting. So City Council had a special meeting on January 7th, where they did go ahead and approve the meetings for January and February for all public meetings to be held virtually. And that was due in part because of the Minnesota state statute that was put in place after the governor's executive orders had expired. And so there is a subdivision on there that basically indicates that if there is a person that is within, let me see here, if there is a person that is within the member right or the voting or the mandate to be able to have these as a virtual event, that's why it went through that process, and that is why City Council went ahead and voted, because there was a surge in the COVID-19 cases. And so they will go ahead and continue to monitor that. There is not a definite continuation date. They will actually be taking a look again throughout their time when they're having city council meetings to make a decision of what does the next following months look like, if they will be held virtually or if they will be held in person. With the Minnesota state statute, it has to be kind of an all or nothing. So it's either all public hearings are held virtually or they will be all held in person. So I know that in July and August, you had that option to kind of do that hybrid Going forward, as it is written in a Minnesota state statute, it's either in person or all virtual. Once I get more information from City Council, or if there is a decision made going forward for March or any future meetings, I will let you know.
We're looking at February 22, right?
That's correct. So you will be receiving an email from Management Fellow Kareem for that invitation as well. And then the last update that I have is I know Commissioner Siegel went ahead and just talked about the Edina Reads collaboration for Thursday. I'll go ahead and create a link and send that all out to you because I'll be sending out that Sun Current article to you as well. So you'll be getting that from me.
Great.
And that's all I have.
Great. And City Fellow Kareem?
Yes, I do have one update. Ironically, I had just told Chair Epstein and Commissioner Stringer Moore that I'd be here through the summer, but this will be my second to last commission meeting. I've accepted a position as the Assistant City Administrator in Northfield, Minnesota. So I will be leaving you all. The next fellow, her name is Jillian Straub. She will not be here until late July, so she won't be with you guys until August. So it's going to be a bit of a gap, but I just wanted to let you all know that I will not be around for a lot of your events.
Did you say Northfield?
Yes.
Okay.
Are you moving down south? You're going to be my other neck of the woods.
No, it's not far enough that it's about 40 minutes from where I am now. So.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
That's awesome. So you'll be with us next month.
I will.
Boy, big month next month. Okay. Well, thank you for everything, and we'll do all that next month. Big update though. Okay, everybody, can we get a motion to adjourn? This is an easy one. Commissioner Siegel, a second. Commissioner Stringer Moore, roll call.
Chair Epstein,
Aye.
Commissioner Felton,
Aye.
Commissioner Ismail,
Aye.
Commissioner Bennett,
Aye.
Commissioner Siegel,
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards,
Hi, if you can hear me. I've got a cat in my face.
Commissioner Guadalajara, Commissioner Stringer Moore.
Aye.
Concludes roll call.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Safe travels to those travelers.
Yeah.